Welcome guys to another video. So I want to talk about Blade's buff in the 3.4 beta, and before we start, spoiler warning and potential leaks warning. So anyway, you have been warned, so click away if you don't want to see any spoilers or leaks. So anyway, let's get started. So let's start with his scalings first. So all of his scalings has been changed to fully scale on HP instead of dual scaling where he scales on both HP and attack. So this is quite understandable because back in version 1 we don't have any real HP buffers in the game, while we do have them, which is Fushen, Lynx and Bailu, but either the condition to trigger the HP increase is unrealistic or the HP buff is just too small to actually make any difference. So they probably give him attack buff, attack scaling, where even if you use any supports that buff attack, it can still bring some damage increase to Blade. But they probably never foresee that having low multipliers will be bad for a character in the long run. So here we are, where they change all his scalings to HP right now. So aside from that, we have his skill. So nothing got changed, but they added a aggro increase when he activates his skill. And the aggro increase is equivalent to Clara's ultimate and Yunli's Lycone. So there wasn't any mention about Lynx's skill aggro increase. I guess that is lower compared to Clara and Yunli. So Blade got aggro increase in his skill, which is nice, but it was not really lore accurate though. But a buff is a buff. Aside from that, we got changes in his traces. So let's start with the Cyclone of Destruction. So the damage increase for his follow-up attack has always been there, and the only thing that get added is whenever Blade does his follow-up attack, he gets additional 15 energy. So additional energy is quite nice, which means more ultimates. And for his second trace, this got changed in V3, which is this week or maybe the past few days. So I can't find the original post, maybe it has been taken down, but before this, the old trace is when he hits a weakness broken enemy, he gets some heal. And now it changes to, I'm not sure how many percent it was, maybe 20, maybe 25, but a percentage of the HP heal now charges the tally for his ultimate. So it's not a extremely good change, but it does help charge his tally, and the old trace is not that useful, so I hope they changes the trace where he get additional HP healing. Maybe just give him HP healing without having to be below 50% health or anything. But yeah, so 2 of his traces got changed, 1 still remains. And the last thing that got changed is his ultimate. So his ultimate, his Eidolons. So the last thing got changed is his first Eidolon. So for the old Eidolon, his ultimate damage deals additional increased damage to the primary target equal to 100% of the tallies of Blade's HP loss in the current battle. So it's capped at 90% of his max HP, and the tally value will be reset and reaccumulated after his ultimate has been used. And right now the percentage didn't change, but it will affect his enhanced basic attack as well. So it's an increase to single target damage, which is the primary target that you select. But the weird thing is that for his E1, the tally value will still be reset and has to be recumulated. So I remember back before version 3.4 beta got dropped, there was some leaks that mentioned that Blade's tally won't be reset if you got his E1, but this thing is still here, and this thing was, I got this text back when V1 dropped, but I didn't see any changes in this V3, so I think that the tally value reset still remains in his kit. So this is so I have seen some tests and reviews that this Eidolon is extremely broken and his damage is comparable to E0 My Day. But the weird thing is that his traces kinda contradicts to his ultimate. So right now, if you does a follow attack, you get additional energy which contributes to more ult. But if you ult more often, you lose out on the enhanced basic attack damage, which scales on your lost HP. So I was expecting that if you got his E1, you won't reset the tally right now, you would just get the full value of the damage increase. So I was hoping that they change this in the V4 and version 4 of the 3.4 beta, because it's kind of weird. And yeah, that's all the buff that he got. So a lot of things still haven't changed. So one thing that is quite problematic is this E2, which is the 15% crit rate increase. So I mean, it's E2 of a character, and all it does is give you 15% crit rate. I mean, 15% crit rate is nice, but it's an Eidolon, not his trace. If he got like 50% crit rate bonus in his trace, it's acceptable. Yeah, I mean, they can move it to the first trace where when his HP is lower than 50%, he get additional healing. So maybe they can just slap the 15% crit rate there and just give him something else for his E2, or maybe just increase the crit rate to 50%, because Jingliu got a whopping 50% crit rate built in her base kit. So for Jingliu, you don't even have to build her to reach a minimum threshold of the crit value. So for Jingliu, you can just go into the battle and you don't even have to build her, you can just play her normally and you can hit 50% crit rate and 220 crit damage without builds. So it's kind of insane for a character's base kit with that kind of base stats. And Blade has like 15% crit rate in his second Eidolon. So aside from that, his E4 is fine, it's 40% HP increase, but I hope that they increase Blade's base HP as well, because among all the HP scaling characters, Blade has like the lowest HP among them all. Blade has like 1500, while Jingliu has like 1600 something her HP. So just increase Blade's base HP for the buff in V4. Please attack you, Hoyo. So yeah, his E4 is fine, but his base HP is kind of low, so all the scalings will just contribute less compared to the other characters. And his E6 is fine, but where he reduces his stack requirement for his follow attack, and it does increase the scaling as well. So if you got his E6, his primary source of damage will be his follow attack. And another problem that has to be fixed is his follow attack, where the charges don't overcap. So Blade is one of the two victims of this, where their charges don't overcap, and another one is Himiko. So Himiko's charge is capped at 3 and Blade is capped at 5. And if Blade got his E6, the charges is capped at 4, so you can't have more charge than the required charges. So yeah, these two characters need to get their base this mechanic change, because Shui is the first character to come out that can overcap on the stacks. I mean, Shui can have like almost store double of the stacks she required, but it's impossible to achieve that. And just other characters that release after Shui just get all their just can overcap on the stacks, like March 7, Jade, Adventurine, and so on. They can all overcap on the stacks, and Jade can overcap on a whopping 40 stacks. Yeah, 40 stacks is the limit for Jade's overcapping. So on a normal Blade run, it probably wouldn't affect much, but if you putting Jade aside, so there are certain scenarios where it will affect your gameplay. So first off is when you got hit by a crowd control skill. So if Blade got hit by a crowd control, he wouldn't trigger his follow attack. And there is a weird thing, I'm not sure if it's intended or it's just a mere coincidence. So whenever a character's got crowd control, all the enemy will just kind of hit the character that got crowd control continuously. So if Blade has maxed out his stacks, and all of a sudden enemy hit him with a crowd control skill, and the enemy keep hitting him, all the extra stacks is just lost. So this is one of the situations where Blade not having overcap in his stacks will actually hurt him and hurt his damage output. And another situation is when the enemy has a lot of different DOT debuffs. So for those who don't know, if you got damaged by a DOT, different DOTs count as different sources of damage. So if Blade have like 5 different DOTs on him, he will get 5 stacks when all the DOTs set off. So Blade not being able to, so all the extra stacks that Blade get from the DOT damage is lost as well. And another situation is with Jade. So if Jade uses his skill on Blade and give him the Debt Collector state, whenever Blade deals any damage, he gets 1 extra stack from the HP drain that Jade provides. So this essentially, so having Jade paired with Blade essentially doubles his fall frequency, and if you are 1 stack away from triggering his follow attack, you will just lose out on 1 stack. But it's not only 1 stack, because if you trigger the follow attack, it's considered as an attack, so it would drain 2% of Blade's HP as well. So for those who use Jade, you probably notice it when Herta uses her follow attack, she actually drains her own HP. So doing a follow attack actually triggers the 2% HP drain. So it would actually lower Blade stack requirement by 1. So if Blade being able to overcap on his stacks, Blade would need 1 less stack to the next follow-up if paired with Jade. So I'm not sure if this is intentional or the Blade or the developers deliberately don't want to add it. But if Blade being able to overcap on his stacks, Jade is equivalent to what Sunday is to Jinren. So yeah, they have to make it so that Blade can overcome on his stacks. So yeah, anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you guys for listening to the rant. Yeah, so thank you for watching.